So if, like me, you have one of these, a Zoom H1N field recorder, and if you use this to record your own audio, both outside your studio and inside your studio, you may, like me, have had some trouble with setting the bit rate when you are live streaming audio real time from this into your computer. And because making that work the way that I wanted it to work was way more complicated than I ever expected, I wanted to share the procedure that I went through so that you guys could see how I did it and how I made it work the way that I wanted to. So first things, let's just turn this on and I can show you what the bit rate is. What the bit rate is when it just comes on without the USB interface. So I think you can see right there, well, not really, there you go. 96 kilohertz, 24-bit sound, okay? So now let me plug it into my USB cable, and I'll show you what the bitrate comes up as when it's actually plugged into the USB cable. This is going to be stupid clumsy because I'm trying to do this all with one hand, so I apologize for looking stupid on camera. So we're plugged into the USB cord, and let me turn it on again. It's so fucking annoying the way that they've put that USB port right next to where you need to pull down on the switch. So you can see it's saying, do you want to use the audio interface, which is the, the real-time USB streaming? Yes, we do. And are you going to be using PC Mac or iOS? We're going to be using PC Mac. And are you going to power from the USB cable, or are you going to power from the internal batteries inside the Zoom? We're going to power from the bus to save the batteries. So you can see that it's come up at 44.1 kilohertz. And that's a big problem for me, because when I try and mix 44.1 kilohertz audio and 48 kilohertz audio, the 44.1 kilohertz audio comes out sounding like absolute and utter trash in every way. So that is going to need to be fixed, and that's actually the big thing that I want to show you in this video. Fucking ghetto red horse shit here. Yeah, this is just going to be terrible, so I apologize in advance for it being terrible. You may think, oh, well, Salty, you're just an idiot. Why didn't you just go into your audio settings somewhere in here? Why didn't you just go into that and fix it? Or why didn't you go into your audio devices stuff and fix it in here in your recording devices? And the reason is that it's not there. You can look through this stuff all you want. You will never in a million years find it. I don't know exactly why Zoom chose to use the drivers that they did, but those drivers, you can only set things up in one place, and the place is not a place that you would ever be able to find on your own. It's completely illogical. It makes no sense. I'm not going to say it's the very last place in the world you'd ever expect, but it is definitely in a place that makes your head go kaboom if you know much about technology. So let's just, again, let me show you that the Zoom still says 44.1 kilohertz, okay? Now go into your start menu down here and just start typing CONT. And you can see that there's this app control panel. Now, it's worth saying this is not the Windows 10 control panel that you would get by clicking on the start button, clicking on the gear, and clicking on system audio. This is the old school Windows 7 control panel, not the new school Windows 10 control panel. And this is where you're going to actually get the setting that you want. Once you've got this up, you want to go to hardware and sound. And now you can see that there's a couple things in here: Zoom H1N series async audio and Zoom H1N series audio. The real-time streaming, when you're actually real-time getting the audio out of your Zoom and into your computer, is called async. So again, let's just make sure you can see 44.1 kilohertz. So let's go in here and we will change it. And again, you can see the Zoom is thinking that it is 44.1 kilohertz, which, yeah, okay, definitely it is. So let's change it. Now, I don't know why you don't have a broader range of options. Maybe the USB speed just isn't fast enough to either run more samples per second or larger size samples, higher precision. And okay, so we've changed that here. In the old Windows 7 style and the async audio, we close that. And now you would think, if you were a logical person, or even if you were a technological person, you would think that the Zoom would reflect that change. But as you can still see, it still thinks it's 44.1 kilohertz down there. So don't ask me, I don't know why when you close that up, it doesn't instantaneously make the change go to the Zoom, but it doesn't. Again, this is probably just something with the driver, or maybe it's something with ASIO. I don't claim to understand Windows ASIO. I don't know what the hell that's all about. What I have found is if you want your Zoom to actually change its bit rate, so it's using the 48 kilohertz bit rate, you actually have to do some kind of opening of the mic and start to record something. So what I'm going to do is just use my start shadow play recording key just for 2 seconds and then turn it right back off. And when I start shadow play recording, you'll actually see it flip over. I don't want to go vertical video, so I hope that the video from my stupid little cell phone is clear enough here, but what I'll do is I'll show you before and after. So here's your, oh, hello, glare sucks. There's your before, 44.1 kilohertz. See if I can keep this as one continuous, fuck. Try and keep this as one continuous shot if I can. Alt F9 is how I have my shadow play set up. The shadow play is starting to record. And now that shadow play has started to record, fuck, glare, I hate you. And then we'll stop shadow play recording. Oh, sorry, I'm a moron. So here's what happened. I didn't have shadow play set up to open this mic. I had it set up to open my headset mic. So we're actually going to have to go into the shadow play settings, set it to open the Zoom. Okay, so the Zoom is still 44.1. We start shadow play recording. And now because shadow play has actually opened up the Zoom mic and started recording, that has changed to 48 kilohertz, which is now the correct setting that we made in the actual control panel, the Windows 7 control panel. And now I can stop recording, and there you go. So that's the trick. Not only do you have to know which control panel, which is the old school control panel, then you have to get something that will actually open up the mic for recording before the settings you made in the old school control panel will actually take effect. Now, if you are more interested in the details of how I use this and why I've chosen this device as opposed to other microphones, stick around. But if all you wanted to know was how to get your Zoom H1N to do 48 kilohertz recording, you can safely leave the video now. So for those of you who are interested in more details, hang around, be just a second. So here is the sort of stand, I guess you would call it, not really a tripod setup for the Zoom. Obviously there's the Zoom right there. There's a little pop filter right here that sort of cuts out the nasty plosive. If you say P or B right into this, that puff of air makes a really nasty sound in the mic. And this pop filter helps filter that out. It also tends to nerf the higher frequencies a little bit. My voice sounds a little bit more fluid or pleasant, a little less peaky and weird and with less high frequency components. So I'm lucky that the distortion actually sounds pleasant. You can see that the way it's mounted onto this thing is I've got some rubber neoprene washers to do just a little bit of vibration isolation between the mic and the stand. And the stand itself is just a 12-inch gate hinge, which actually is kind of heavy, but that turned out to be real good because it makes it much more stable. And then I've also got a bolt on here with a wing nut, and this little black thing is just the top of a joystick that just screws onto the bolt. So that's kind of nicer than having the sharp nose of the bolt digging into and scratching whatever it is I've got the mic on. And it's this plastic thing that's relatively round and blunt. And when I use this in practice, generally speaking, it looks something like that. It sits there on my monitor stand, the little ball sits on my keyboard, and then I can sit here in front of my computer and, speak right into the Zoom. And I found this works pretty well. It is a bit of a ghetto rig setup, and I think it's worth talking a little bit about why I would choose this setup instead of something else. Generally speaking, I would have preferred to have an Audio-Technica AT2020 USB, because I know several streamers that use that setup, and I think that's a good setup. I like the way the mic sounds, and etc. However, at the time I had to buy this mic, and I needed a better mic, the AT2020 USB was not available. You would have to buy an AT2020 non-USB, and then spend another $200 on top of the cost of the mic to get a USB interface. And I knew, being a technical person, that a USB interface is really not that hard. The microchips are not hard to get, the board is not hard to lay out. So my choices were really, I was on a budget, and I wanted something with a built-in USB interface because I knew that that was quite possible from a technological standpoint, and it was also just what made sense. So if I'd had my choices, I wouldn't have used this. I would have had an AT2020 USB, but the AT2020 USB didn't exist at the time I had to buy a mic. So there you go. That's my mic setup. Hope that's been interesting and you've learned something. Just wanted to get this video out there before I forgot about it. Of course, I have a lot of other videos I want to do, but this one was, one that I wanted to get out of the way. So hope that's been useful. And if you have a Zoom H1N, I hope this will help you make the audio coming from it better.